Hello everybody, my name is Anthony. Welcome back to Let's Play Hearts of Iron 4 as the United States. Let's continue on from where we last left off. So, Reed has been inaugurated to the United States. Well, he's not been inaugurated right now. He's been elected, but he has not actually been inaugurated quite yet. And again, that should happen in early January. So, we're very, very, very close to the beginning of the Second American Civil War. It should happen, I guess, in about March. Roughly March-ish. And we shall see if, I mean, MacArthur should take control of the country, I believe. What are all you guys doing? I mean, you like us now, so that's nice. Same ideology. I'm going to have a similar ideology. Apparently, I don't like the British, though. Support the CSA. Well, it's a little bit too late for that, because, support the CSA, call to world revolution. Well, apparently, you know, I don't think Jack Reed would be that upset about that, in all honesty. Because the CSA, you know, we've got, like a month or two until total hell breaks out in the United States and like 10 million people die at least, so, you know, we'll see. We'll see. Canada, stay out of this for now. I know that Canada, I think, can intervene, if we get too strong. The country's social problems have been forced the American people to turn to radical solutions. The two-party system has broken down, and Jack Reed is to be sworn in as the 31st president of the United States, with Norman Thomas being sworn in as his vice president. In a stirring speech in Washington, D.C., Reed has pledged to defend the interests of the workers and work to help revolutionize society for the good of all Americans. However, the SPA's slim majority in Congress means that they will have to find a challenge to pass meaningful legislation, especially in the Senate, where the AFP have promised to filibuster any law it seems as detrimental to America. And with that, we can just be like, hey, screw you. Where is it? We'll just pass some sweeping reforms through, what do you call it? Through the, what, executive orders, that's what they're called. So Executive Order 7080, labor unions. One of Freed's first acts as president is to enshrine the rights of the collective right to bargain, unwilling to wait to overcome the sudden filibuster, inciting the violent conflict between the AFP and the SPA imperial militaries. Reed passed an executive order that forced state and federal government to recognize a union's right to exist and engage in collective bargaining without exception, thus forbidding yellow dog contracts. While the unions rejoice, many in the country denounced the executive order as a tyrannical act of the executive branch, for the union makes us strong. We greatly gained political power, so people, namely MacArthur, are going to be a little bit upset. Now that the election is ordered, the new government will need to take action, and quickly. Failure to act will likely mean intervention by the military to solve the crisis, though even acting carries no guarantee of the political crisis being resolved. One of the following must be true. Will abort if has completed one of the following. So it should time up after 48 days. But it's only a 21-day reform, so we should be fine. The bourgeoisie are furious. From New York to San Francisco, the rich and powerful protested Reed's election in the Hearst newspapers and in congressional addresses. It is clear that the upper class are furious at the enforcement of Executive Order 7080 and have begun to radicalize against the SPA as a result. Let reactionaries shout. I mean, 44 days is enough to pass something that's going to be done in like 10. But I'm pretty sure MacArthur marches into the country regardless. Opposition denounces Reed as tyrant. Though they agreed on little else, the Democrats, Republicans, and the American First Parties have quick to denounce Reed publicly across the nation for the enactment of Executive Order 7080, claiming that it is to be an overreach of the executive branch and a slide into tyranny. Huey Long has gone so far as to have vowed not to follow any law that dictator Reed imposes upon America. Long following up by comparing President Reed to Vladimir Lenin, almost gloating that Reed would share Lenin's fate. Shut up, Long. They gain a little bit of political power. Was Lenin was probably executed, right? I'm trying to remember what happened in like the Kaiserreich lore. I'm pretty sure Lenin was executed. So again, 1937. So let's go for actually, it's first industry too. The Saudis have won the war in Arabia. Not a surprise, they always do. To be done in 2 days. The halt on floor closures. I mean, the only thing we can actually do now is just do more stuff about the Navy. Who doesn't love light? battleships. Battleships are cool. Executive Order 7089, the halt on foreclosure, directing the Secretary of Commerce to temporarily take possession of and operate the facilities of certain financial companies. The inability to deal with the Great Depression has been the death of 2 major parties, and it will be the death of the SBA as well, unless Reed acted quickly and decisively. Believing that corrupt financial sector was the primary reason responsible for creating and prolonging the Depression, Reed has moved to nationalize the banks of Wall Street to force them to act in the public rather than the private good. This includes stopping banks from foreclosing on bankrupt homeowners. A filibuster by Senator Roosevelt has forced Reed to resort to an executive order, appealing yet again to the national security. While popular with the lower classes, many in the upper classes claim Reed is drunk on his power and while on his way to declare himself a dictator. The rich shall now pay. The social power greatly gains political power. So, I mean, we're developing some battleships, so that's cool. And as you can tell, there's really nothing else I can do right now. The Supreme Court hears upon case Order 7089. The Supreme Court has allowed the first challenge to Executive Order 7089, Standard Oil of California versus Paul Matic, to be heard. This case is brought by Paul Matic to argue that Standard Oil's monopolistic power has overtaken democratic power. The accusation of Standard Oil bribing the Boston City Council has been taken very seriously. The nation awaits to see if Reed's power will be checked or whether the SPA will continue to enact their agenda in defiance of the Senate. The damn reactionaries. But we do have better tanks now, so I mean that might solve our problems. So it is 1937. That means, okay, that's 1938. So let's get some better construction. And we'll also get machine tools. Basically, just try to make our industry a little bit better for now. So the war should end, or not the war. The United States should end in like a month or so from now. Executive Order 7100, directing the Secretary of the Interior to temporarily take possession of and operate the facility of certain mining companies. The belief that public land was a public good is essential to most left-leaning parties, and the flagrant abuse of public land by mining companies has long been a source of deep bitterness for the transcendentalist. To most of Reed's cabinet, it was clear that private mining companies would be entirely unable to balance the needs of the public with their greed. It moved to nationalize the drilling and mining companies, including Standard Oil, whose case against Executive Order 7089 was still pending. This has been seen by many as an attack against a political rival and further confirmation that Reed wishes to turn America into a syndicalist state like the Commune of France or the Union of Britain. America's resources belong to the people. So when... It's only been like a month, and I've already passed like 12 executive orders, and really, I'm just, I'm ready for war. Packing the court. Although Reed has shown no signs of concern over Standard Oil versus Paul Matic in the public, his administration is concerned that the conservative-leaning Supreme Court will rule 7-2 in favor of the capitalist and revert whatever reforms have already been put in place. Citing Lincoln's court packing during the Civil War as precedent, Reed has asked the Senate Majority Leader, Mayor London, to remove the filibuster for judicial appointees and has increased the size of the Supreme Court to 15. It is clear that he intends to appoint 6 pro-socialist justices to the bench, which will ensure his executive orders will remain constitutional. This has provoked a firestorm of protest even from the left-leaning farmer labor and the progressive parties, which had up to now remained neutral or supportive of Reed. We must defend the workers whatever it takes. So just start the Civil War. Let's do it. I'm ready. I'm ready for conflict. Serbia, okay, look, Serbia. You're not important to anything that's happening over here, so... The violence against SPA spreads in the immediate aftermath of Reed's court packing. Long has come out aggressively against Reed, all but calling for an armed uprising. All counties and states, especially in the South, are refusing to accept Reed's executive orders as law, and there have been massive increases of reported violent clashes between Minutemen and SPA militias. Unless order is restored, the country is bound for a civil war. The police should be protecting the people. Stability goes down by another 5%. Yeah, so these guys are a little bit upset with me. Everyone is a little bit upset with me, but that's fine. Clash between the Minutemen and the police. Long calls for resistance against Reed have been interrupted by some Minutemen to call for resistance against any governmental agency. Police clashes with Long's militiamen have now become common throughout the country in cities with a strong SPA presence. Member of the General Defense Committees help the police restore law and order, but in the Deep South, the Minutemen effectively have complete control. Long is very upset with what I've done. We almost have battleships. We're extremely close to having battleships. MacArthur marches on to Washington. Reed's support for D.C. has finally bottomed out. General Douglas MacArthur has marched into Washington, D.C. today to arrest Reed and his cabinet at the White House. MacArthur's marchers reminded many D.C. of Cox's army of the 1932, except these men are motivated to preserve the status quo and were cheered instead of booed. Having been tipped off by the SPA informant in MacArthur's command staff, Reed was able to stay ahead of the traitorous general and to escape to Chicago. MacArthur has chosen to inhabit the White House and coordinate an investigation into Reed from an executive chair. Civil war is imminent. Military junta is now the ruling party. So MacArthur is now in charge. I mean, he's not very popular. President Reed escapes to Chicago. President Reed has escaped to Chicago and declared that MacArthur is a traitor to all people of America. His calls have gained great deal of support in the Steel Belt, and a number of governors have already announced that they do not recognize the illegitimate authority of the current government. They've closed off their borders to American soldiers, raising a chilling specter of a civil war in the country experienced less than a century ago. So disaster has begun. Stand by the Republic. Basically, all of these will just go away, and we'll stay as the United States. Or the revolution has begun. Stand with the workers. Play as the CSA. So now we are the CSA. We have a total of 1 division. Wonderful. He doesn't even have it reads own. Apparently, we're just like a personal army. So that's fine. We'll put you in charge. We'll have you in charge of Field Marshal. We'll put you basically right next to Washington, D.C. Oh, the game crashed. Excellent. No, we don't need to send anything. Close the program. Fine. We'll quickly relaunch Hearts of Iron 4. Very, very quickly. I don't know where the autosave was. So, excellent there. App running. Of course, there's a problem with, like, the Paradox Crasher. So, I know this is a very, very fun to watch. Crash Reporter. End task. There we go. So, let us relaunch in the Hearts of Iron 4. Eventually. Okay, skip. Turn back on these 2 mods. Play. Don't launch StarCraft. That's the wrong button. There we go. So we're going to slowly boot our way back into the game. Hopefully this time it doesn't crash. I don't know why. I'm guessing it just crashed because it's not used to switching countries. And it kind of broke it a little bit. Do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Yeah, so I think these are these from the American First Party or are they just German troops? Because I know this is the CSA back there. Load. Where's the autosave? The autosave's I think that's like a day before the game crashed, so. Oh no, it's like a day before the CSA existed. So I'm actually going to save and reload as soon as we become the CSA. Please just let me load in. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly save the game. I don't want something to crash again, and I'm going to quickly reload the game. I don't know if this really makes a difference, but, you know, fingers crossed that it does. Okay. So again, we have 1 division. Put him in charge. You in charge of that guy. You are going to be basically right in front of Washington, D.C. Not a fallback line, but a front line. Also, you can be a nice... You can be the Red Army. I think that works out quite well. Oh, okay. It's trying to make all the new countries. That's why the... That's probably why the game crashed. It wasn't ready for that. So decisions available. So we can start recruiting some militia troops. Of course, we're going to recruit 19 militias in Pennsylvania. That's, you know, we want where the most troops are. So it's March 16th. The 2nd Continental Army. 50 Army experience. You know, that's not really actually a big deal, but that's fine. Wold Creek Lightship Hull. Disband you for now. Because we're also going to be... Okay, we have convoys already. Well, let's upgrade you a little bit. Of course, apparently we don't have a lot of factories over here, which is surprising given that we should be like the industrial heartland of the country, but sure, whatever. And let us build up some military factories up into Michigan. Cancel that one. We don't need more civilian factories. Do we have all the penalties as well? Or do we actually build at a decent speed? Ours will be done June 2nd. So I mean, it's not fast, but it's not like the slowest thing either. So we're currently raising support 18 days. Standoff in America. Tense standoff has erupted in the United States. The democratically elected President Reed has fled to the city of Chicago after being forcibly removed from his position by General Douglas MacArthur. From Chicago, Reed supporters have declared MacArthur's government illegitimate, as have the southern supporters of Huey Long, based in New Orleans, and of civic governors under the leadership of Governor Frank Marion. All have given a deadline to MacArthur of 30 days to either stand down or face arrest and execution. Considering all sides have rapidly raised forces, the idea that America seems headed into a second civil war is almost certain. Oh, and we got a handful of nice troops right here, so we'll put them all into Red Army. And of course, they will be ready for a front line into the capital of the United States. Just a quick attack into Virginia. Also, turn off the fog of war. Thank you. Get our free army experience. Did we get the text? We did, but it's actually researching some other stuff by default, which makes no sense. Yes, place that there. Fuel storage. You know what? Fuel storage is fine. We'll keep all this. That's actually okay. Could be worse. Riots in New England and New York. Stability has gone down, but of course, we're not actually, why would we lose stability? We're not the United States anymore. Syndicates militias are struggling and failing to take control of the northern states from New York and New Jersey all the way up to the coast of Maine. So far, governors in the region have clamped down hard on the violence. You know what? Not to mention uprising going on within New York City itself. Citizens are on edge. Join with me. Everybody should join. We'll go down to speed 4 just to make sure that before the starts, we're not just completely screwed over right away. So how long until those militias are raised? 14 days. The Syndicates have taken control of Minnesota. Thank you, Minnesota, for joining our glorious combined syndicate. Illinois Governor Assembly invites the IWW. The state legislators of Illinois invited the IWW to discuss the current crisis and the looming deadline issued by the federal government. Jack Reed has accepted this offer and has held an informal meeting with several trade union leaders prior. Reed has made it clear that the situation was dire and the SPA would need to unite behind the IWW in order to survive in the coming conflict. This silent agreement meant that the traditional SPA leadership would be reorganized, although industrial unionist lines. With each union representative allowed a single vote, the SPA immediately and unanimously pledged their support for a social revolution through direct action, not diplomacy. We can actually probably make this front line one tile, not one tile longer. I can't really tell. Okay, that's fine, whatever. Don't worry about it for the moment. North Carolina confirms loyalty to the United States. I wasn't expecting North Carolina to really join me. If anything, it would have actually joined the American Union states. So we're kind of glad nothing's happened so far in terms of that. How many troops do the United States have right now? They have about 13 to 20 soldiers. American Union state is looking pretty weak as well. Longest militias have taken control of Tennessee. Again, not a huge deal to me. Oh, yes, I have more factories. Okay. So let's build some up in Minnesota as well. How much longer until you... 8 more days. So we got a week until this is ready. How many guys do you actually have that can be deployed in total? We're looking at probably about like 50 or 60 divisions of militia troops. I mean, the militias aren't the strongest, but they're better than nothing. But I do think it's going to be a good time to end this episode. Thank everybody for watching. My name is Anthem. If you've enjoyed, remember a thumbs up. If not, do it, click thumbs down. I want to see more, subscribe, and goodbye.